Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the room. Drop in the chat where you're from. It's good to know which part of the world I'm attracting people from as well. Tired, wired, and wasting time. It must be relevant to you. So that's why you're here. And that's what I'm going to be sharing. My name is Joy Langley. I'm an emotional intelligence coach. I'm also a stress management therapist. I've done that for quite a few years. And I'm very good at reinventing myself over time. So now I'm talking about energy systems. Today, you'll find out how that relates to the topic of feeling tired, wired, and wasting time. The thing is, people don't understand the importance of energy. This is stuff that no one taught me at school, to be quite honest. You just sort of have it and you spend it and it just goes. And we have lots of languaging around how we use our energy too. But it's really important for me being in business. There are lots of stats around mental health and business owners, but from a personal perspective, during my 20s, I had a lot of emotional mental health challenges. I didn't realize I had them until I sort of felt anxious and overwhelmed and stressed, and I couldn't get rid of it. I've used lots of tools over time, but I sometimes slip into that space. Why does that still happen? The energy signature or your energy systems, I like to practice things on myself before I allow them to be released onto the public because I, hand on heart, need to know that it works. So the stats around mental health and business owners, I'll just throw a couple of things at you from a site called thefoundersreport.com. It says that 87% of entrepreneurs regularly struggle with mental health issues, and they've broken them down into burnout, anxiety, high stress, and feelings of isolation and loneliness. I know that I experience a lot of these. Burnout, I have experienced 34% of entrepreneurs experience burnout. 50% of entrepreneurs struggle with anxiety. 45% struggle with high stress, and then 26% feel lonely or isolated. And I have to hold my hand up to having experienced that during my lifetime. Not much fun. It doesn't help when you're in business and you have pressures from trying to do all the activities. So the Founders Report is something which I like to go back to and remind myself that sometimes I'm not the only person that this is happening to. Let's have a look at what you might be struggling with today. I'm going to ask you to drop something in the comments for me. Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling wired, tense, nervousness, or anxiety? Or do you feel that you're wasting your time?
Saskia, she's feeling drained. Coach Lee, he's wired. Tracy, she's saying she's in the tired category today. Ashley, she's tired, but more mentally so.
Thank you very much for your honesty as well. Right now, I'm not feeling tired, which is great because it's 3 o'clock. This is my tired time. Am I feeling wired? I'm feeling wired in a positive way. So I'm feeling quite excited. This morning was trying to examine what was happening for me. And I thought, oh, I'm feeling a little bit antsy and nervous. What is this? And I said, actually, I'm excited about today. And so I've written down on a piece of paper, which will probably come out back to front. I choose to be excited because I'm talking to everyone. I wrote that down just to let you know that sometimes when you have emotions, you've got to work out what is it. And excitement and fear, very, very close together. If you tell yourself it's fear, then you get more nervous. If you tell yourself it's excitement, you can get quite buzzy. Now, you might think that you have a first myth, productivity problem. Second myth, you might think that you have a time management problem or getting yourself organized. That seems to be a forever problem for me. Or you might think you have a discipline or a willpower problem. With all of these problems that we have, we've been doing things on top of that to try and make it better. AI has been the thing that we've been chucking at this and thinking that's going to solve all of those problems. The myth about productivity, the myth about time management, and the myth about discipline and willpower. When looking at why we think we need to be more productive, why do we need time management? Why do we need to be disciplined and have that willpower? What's going on for us? and how that contributes to us feeling tired, wired, and wasting time. Now, you probably wake up, like I do, in the mornings, most of the mornings, with a sense of optimism. Sometimes it's a sense of dread, doesn't happen too often, and it fluctuates. Let's look at the emotions that are going on around that morning wake up routine. Some days it might be a mix of frustration, anger, blame, guilt, sadness. And sometimes I wake up comparing myself to the rock stars of my industry. If I start looking at their stuff, I just feel really terrible about myself. And then overwhelm can kick in as well. There are so many things that you're supposed to be doing, ought to be doing, should be doing. So again, I'm very much into looking at language. If you hear yourself saying, I should be doing that, I must be doing that, I ought to be doing that, that can be a negative part of your energy system. And it might be contributing towards you feeling tired, wired, and wasting time. But moving on from there, we do have an awful lot of things to do if we're in business. There might be meetings that you've got to attend, Zoom calls, there's the emails to check, there's the marketing to do, there's the sales, there's the social media. You might have employees, you have to talk to co-workers, you might need to talk to investors. So the list goes on. I am definitely a solo entrepreneur. That hat sits squarely with me unless I get other people in. So that might be happening to you in terms of running your business. And every day you're thinking that I'll just get another productivity hack or an app. I'll just use this time management tool. I've just read about it, and it's going to save my life. And AI on top of that. Another thing that I spoke about last time was this concept of busyness. We keep saying that we're busy. You say it, I say it. I've been pulling myself up for the last week. And this week I've been really conscious of it. We talk about emotional intelligence. How do you develop this sense of self-awareness? I've been paying attention to the word busy, and I've not said it up until today. I've been saying other things like I'm in flow, or I'm involved, or I'm enveloped in this situation, but I've been deliberately not saying the word busy. I think it feeds into this whole hustle culture. I've been testing the word hustle. What does it mean to people? For some people, it doesn't mean bad things. For me, it means busy, rushing, and then getting very frantic. Other people, it just means, just getting a move on. So it depends on what part of the world you're in. But the hustle culture for me plays into this whole thing about being tired, wired, and wasting your time.
Tracy has got a really good point in the chat. She's saying that she thinks the media loves to convince us that we're not doing enough. All of those marketing strategies that are out there agitating people's pain. I love that.
Tracy is an absolutely amazing marketing woman, and she coaches me.
We've heard this marketing concept of agitating people's pain. You just got to identify someone's pain and then agitate the pain and then show them that you have a solution for it. And we're all convinced that we're not doing enough. And if I just did this and just did this and that thing made that person $1 million, so I just have to do that. It leads into that overwhelm that Coach Lee is talking about, right? We got to practice filtering stuff out. And what Joy is talking about here, using our energy signature and signals to be able to filter that stuff out.
Thank you, Tracy. Here's an uncomfortable truth that I do want to tell you about this situation. None of the apps, none of the hacks, probably none of the things you've been trying at the moment are going to fix the exhaustion. And some of the strategies that you're taking on board, although they may be good strategies in and of themselves, again, they're not going to fix it because they're not treating the problem. I call it the disease. They're actually treating the symptoms. So all of the things that are happening to you, to me, when I wake up in the morning, my head's a bit full of stuff. I haven't slept well. Perhaps I just need more sleep, more exercise, more supplements. If you are not treating the source of the problem, then you're going to have problems. Now, your exhaustion is because you don't understand your energy system. We all have energy. We take it for granted. The way that we treat our energy is the way that we treat fresh air. Now, imagine if you didn't have any air. Most people could hold their breath about a minute. I think I tried it the other day. Scuba divers have been trained to have a bigger lung capacity, so they can actually hold their breath for longer. But at some point, they're going to run out of oxygen. So we treat our own energy the way that we treat oxygen. We kind of take it for granted. And no one has taught us to understand our energy system. So don't blame yourself. You're not the only one. I wasn't taught it at school, but I've been stuck. I do get tired and I do get wired and I do feel like I'm wasting my time until I discovered this solution recently. And I've been practicing it. It's helping me. Now, your exhaustion, imagine it as a bucket, a big red bucket. And we keep pouring more and more tasks, feeling more tired, thinking thoughts. Thoughts actually take energy as well, pouring that in there. We're getting more exhausted. But what do we do to solve it? We sort of think, let's go and get a bigger bucket. Yay! Bigger bucket's going to work, isn't it? But of course, a bigger bucket doesn't work. A bit like motorways that we build in the UK, America, freeways, wherever you live. We keep widening the roads. Does that solve the traffic problem? No, it just means there's more traffic. So a bigger bucket is just a bigger bucket to collect all of your exhaustion. We think, okay, that didn't work. Let's give it a nice shiny new handle. That might help it. No. Or let's get a different coloured bucket. So we start collecting different coloured buckets and start colour coding them. It doesn't matter what you do with it. It's still full of exhaustion. So again, we're treating the symptoms. We're not actually treating the problem. And if I said to you that there is a better way of dealing with this, if you start understanding your energy system, a lot of things will change because this knowledge gap you've got at the moment will shrink. You'll notice that things that you do become a lot smoother. You overcome frustration more quickly and life just feels a lot better. I can vouch for that. So the problem is not that you're doing too much. The problem is that you're using your energy in the wrong way. I'm going to break that down even further. Imagine that your energy wasn't this one giant lump of fog. It's not just this big mass. It's actually broken up into 3 sections. Now, the 3 sections I'm going to tell you about are a bit like a traffic light system. The first energy source that you have is your natural energy source. It's what you have when you wake up first thing in the morning. And that's the green system. It's recyclable as well, which is good. This energy is there to be used for the most creative tasks of your day. It's not meant to be used to scroll your phone, to smooch about the house, which I do sometimes. This is very valuable energy. And this is where most high achievers go wrong. We think it's all about willpower. We think it's about discipline. We think it's about motivation. And they are very, very good things. But if we go back to the source of the problem, we don't understand how our own energy works. So this natural energy that you have, this green energy that you have, it can be recharged too. So you can have a good night's sleep, you can rest, you can exercise, but don't use it to punish yourself. Restorative rest, Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, she's talked about 7 different energy sources that we have. So we're restoring our physical being. That tends to be with food and exercise, restorative energy on an emotional level, or a social level, or a sensory level, creative and spiritual. So she goes into detail about that. But just think about, we have this energy that's there. It's the first thing that we have, and we should be using it in a certain way. Now, this energy will run out. And once it's gone, you will have to try and work out ways in which you replenish it. What are your energizers? And during the day, if I need to be energized, I might do some jumping jacks. I'm not an exercise person, but I know that helps me. Sometimes I tap into music. That helps me. Sometimes I just need a big, long glass of water. I've got a mood energy tracker that I've been using on myself to try and monitor what's happening to me. What are my energizers? What things make me feel good? What are my de-energizers? What makes me feel bad? And this is data that only you can collect. I can't just suddenly work out what your stuff is because we're all individuals and we all have to work out what's going on for us. So this energy will run out. We should be using it on our most creative work, using it for innovation, creatively daydreaming. This is the stuff that you have first thing in the morning. We burn through that energy by doing the wrong things. We start scrolling emails. We then move on to low energy tasks. Let me rethink. And now you can see me physically, like getting stressed in this moment, and I am going to recover because I know how to recover. And I just take a deep breath and I'm back with you. So we're using this energy on the wrong tasks. It's there for creativity, for your genius, and we're using it on tasks which are not that important. And we wonder why we get exhausted perhaps by midday. Now, the good news is that you can tap into another level of energy. Remember the traffic lights? We've gone from green, we're going into amber. Now, this amber zone, this is your reserve energy, and it's there for us to use. It tends to get triggered by our adrenaline and cortisol. We're in our stress place, but we can work from there. But at this point, we do need to work on being disciplined and using willpower and having that desire to do something. And we generally talk about pushing through things and powering through. Do your routine tasks at this point. Don't try and do creative things in this space because your brain doesn't really want to do it. So again, looking at the kind of energy that you've got and the tasks that you should do. The problem is that we're doing the wrong things in the wrong place. Now, the last level of energy that I want you to think about, it's got a good name. It's called your emergency energy. We'll call that the red energy. The big clue is there. I read a lot about energy, and especially people like Navy SEALs, David Goggins. He talks about the 40% left in the tank. For everyone who's an overachiever, you're thinking, yeah, I've got 40% more to go. I'm thinking, no, not so clever. Not so clever. Our body, in a way, has hidden this 40% from us. So it knows what we're like. And of course, human beings do dip into this 40%. It's meant to be there for emergencies only, like saving someone's life, saving your own life. Perhaps you have to push through at midnight to get that report done. Yeah, there are times when you have to use it, I admit it. And I've used it too, but not continuously, not on a regular basis. It's going to be bad for your body. You'll start to affect your immune system and everything else would go wrong. The problem with business owners and high achievers is that we just live in that space for too long. We dip into it and we shouldn't. Very, very naughty. The body's very clever. It said, we know what humans are like, but they dipped into it. Let's hope they don't stay there for very long. So if you're there for long, you probably wonder why you feel tired, wonder why you feel wired. Your nervous system is on the go, your adrenaline's on the go. You stop being able to think straight. It's a horrible loop between the thinking and the feelings and then the actions that you take. So the problem might be that you're living in the wrong energy zone. So out of curiosity, put in the chat for me, which zone do you think you live in most? The one where you're in your natural energy state? Are you dipping into the reserve regularly, which is okay? Or are you living in the third zone, which is the emergency energy state? You might say all three, Joy. It might be number one for the natural place, 1 and 2, natural, and also the reserves, and then number 3, the emergency zone. Drop a number into the chat and we'll see where we are. I know that I'm going to tick 1 and 2.
Whilst everyone's doing that, Joy, there's some beautiful comments coming out.
Oh, I love all that. 2s here and 3s. And Basanti says she's going to practice being in the natural place. Brilliant. The green zone, but taps into the yellow on a regular basis. That's Tracy. Hyacinth number 3. Thank you guys so much. Loving it. We've got an idea now that there might be an energy problem going on. So I want you to think about, in terms of solutions, are understanding what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're doing. All day long, there are loops that we're going into. And the energy tracker, which I think Denise can drop the link in the comments for you, remember to use it. I have been using mine. As you can see, I've filled mine out. It's something which acts like a journal for me. At the beginning of using it, I was pretty terrible, but after about a week, 2 weeks, I found it so useful, I kept using it. And I'm not very good at using these things. I normally stop, but it's become a habit. I want to know what energizes me. I want to know what takes my energy away, because then I can arrange my day accordingly. And that's why I want to encourage you to track yours too. I want you to think about, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what am I doing? at different points in the day. Use it as a way to stop and to pause and to understand that there's a loop happening all the time. What you get better at doing is breaking the loop if it's a negative one and making a very virtuous loop. You tend to have better thoughts, you tend to have better feelings and better actions. So at any of those points on the circle, you can break it by thinking, what would I like to think, or what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What would I like to feel? What am I doing? What could I do instead? And once you change one part of that system, you've changed everything. Some questions that you can ask yourself. What if you stop trying to do more? Am I using the right energy for the right task? And what if you realize that your natural energy is really, really important and you protected it? And what if you really try to stay away from the emergency energy, except for life-saving situations? Would life look very, very different for you? This is something I want you to think about, a useful way of looking at your energy, a useful way of looking at this feeling of being tired, wired, and wasting time, and whether it is just because you have a gap between your knowledge about how the human body works and how you are actually using it. A bit like having fresh air. We take it for granted until it's not there. Now I've described a system that you can think about and compared it in different ways. Traffic light works for me. Green, amber, red. You can work out which one you're dipping into. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you sharing all your comments as well. What do you make of all these different systems and this whole sense of being tired, wired, and wasting time? I'm still a work in progress. It's a journey, but I don't know. Where are you with it all?
I think my energy starts high and then during the day it begins to wane. And so I'm interested in how to re-energize, during certain parts of the day. And I wonder if this natural energy, the green light, is there a way to boost it or help it last longer during the day?
We should be using it for the hardest tasks that we have to do, using it for creative tasks. But it's really your natural energy that gets recycled every day. You sleep, you rest, you wake up with energy, and you use it. That energy at the beginning of the morning is the one that you should protect and be really, really careful with. You mentioned energizers. Really, it's what do I do during the day that I notice brings my energy back up again. It can be simple things like meditating. People love meditating and just relaxing and breathing. Meditation is not something that I'm brilliant at, but other people may be very good at it. I do very basic exercise. I do jumping jacks or I run on the spot. I also make sure that I've been drinking, I'm hydrated. I watch my food intake. I can be very bad at eating my breakfast. I have my breakfast at lunchtime, which is not quite breakfast. It's probably called lunch, but that's when I have my breakfast. And then I recognize that my body needs fuel and I've not eaten well. And if I eat something, I notice that it changes. So I'll have some fruit, bananas, blueberries. I like grapes, milk, cereal. And I find that my mood changes. So you can find ways to energize yourself, even music. Find your favorite piece of music. Some people go for a walk. That might re-energize them too. So there are ways in which you can notice that your energy changes. And I would encourage you to notice what your particular ones are. Rest is really important. People forget about rest. And Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith, she talks about these 7 restorative rests that we can have. And it's not just physical. It's also emotional and it's social. She goes through the whole list. I've just been following her stuff. It just made me think rest, something that we forget to do. In fact, we punish ourselves for resting. So if we use rest as a strategy, that might be a way to go. Rest is something that we need in order to be productive, in order to do our best work. And the second reserve level of energy, it's okay to dip into that. It's there for that reason. But we have to recognize when we work in that zone as the day goes on, I'm now working on willpower and desire and discipline. I'm using that to get through the tasks as
Okay.
opposed to that natural bubbly energy that I have in the morning, which I'm quite good at waking up and having my best sort of like creative burst from about 9 o'clock to 10. And if I wake up even earlier, it can be from 7 till 8. And then I go, oof, I'm exhausted now. The day's done. Recognize what makes you tick. And like today, it's 3 o'clock in the UK. Really and truly, this is not my best time. My best time is around 12 o'clock to be using my natural energy. Haven't quite dipped into the reserves. And I've definitely gone nowhere near the emergency stuff. But if you asked me to do this at 12 o'clock midnight, different person. I would be putting on this energy, but it would be an awful lot of strain.
Some people that are saying that they can boost their energy by taking a walk, by just moving, putting together a playlist.
I just want to make sure that you've gained something to go away and think about how your body works. No one's taught us any of this stuff. I like to keep it really, really straightforward and simple so that I don't forget. All the stuff that I read that's very, very complicated, it's great on paper, but in reality, I can never, ever use it because I cannot remember how to use it. But traffic lights, I don't know how many people have cars and they drive, but you would not run through a red traffic light too often. You just wouldn't. Accidents can happen, might happen, will happen at some point. The green light is go. Amber is like, yeah, in between. And red is like, pay attention. So pay attention to these energy zones that we're in. Let me know how you're feeling about that particular concept and use the PDF as well. Use that PDF to track what's happening to you because your energy signature and the energy systems are going to be very different to the way that I use mine. And that's fine. But it will help you to stop feeling tired, wired, and that you're wasting time. And report back to me. I'd love to hear whether it works, doesn't work. I'm always open to modifying what I do. We'll catch up again. I shall be doing this again in 2 weeks' time. So have a good one.